Good morning, my name is Joseph Chambers and this is chapter 4, The Boy and the Bear, from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, the novelisation. I've uploaded a couple of videos of this before. This is going up unedited because I wanted to make this as a quick video whilst I'm working on some other projects. So if I flub a line, it's going to stay in. We'll just work around it. You can hear the fan in the background. If you want to understand more about why you can hear a fan going in the background, look up the words UK heat waves on BBC News. You'll get the idea fairly quickly. I just wanted to share this chapter with you. It's not in a complete state at the moment, but I'm quite excited about this particular bit, and I have been for a while. I've got a bit of a cough as well, so if you hear that, that's why. So I will just get on with reading it. When they arrived, Freddy opened his chest and Gregory clambered out. Then they both heard footsteps. Before Freddy could even suggest doing so, Gregory ran and hid on the other side of a medical curtain on the far side of the room. The lad was quick-witted and clever. Freddy had to give him that. Vanessa then came forth from the shadows and began complaining when she saw Freddy. "Freddy! You're supposed to be on lockdown!" Freddy was not sure what to say. "Vanessa, I am sorry. I must have missed the message," he lied. "Well, you totally blew it tonight. You glitched out big time on stage and they have you on reserved power until they can figure out exactly what went wrong." Vanessa chastised him. Freddy looked down at his feet solemnly in response. Gregory thought this woman having a go at Freddy was being a bit unfair. Vanessa reminded Gregory a little of his own mother in that regard. Well, anyway, there is this kid sneaking around about... Okay, this is live editing, by the way. This is quite interesting. So, where I said he looked down at his feet solemnly, I actually added the word solemnly myself because I thought of it. So I'm actually going to add that in real quick. And then I'm going to take that last line again. This is actually interesting in that regard, that I just edit on a whim like this sometimes when I'm recording, but you don't hear it because I edited it out. So anyway, carrying on with the story. Well, anyway, there is this kid sneaking about the place after hours. Obviously, if you see him, report him to me, as I'm the only one working tonight. Because despite my protests, they don't seem to think that guarding this massive shopping mall-sized place is a two-person job. Just one more thing for me to worry about, I suppose. You know what? It doesn't matter. Just get back to your room already," Vanessa snapped before turning around, unlocking a gate with a key, going through said gate, and locking it once more behind her. Freddy then came back behind the curtain and began looking for band-aids to cover Gregory's injuries. "I think she was being a bit harsh on you, to be honest. You can't control... You can't control your glitches about as much as I can't control catching a cold." I said that line completely wrong, I'm aware of that. I think she was a bit harsh on you, to be honest. I think she was a bit harsh on you, to be honest. You can control your glitches about as much as I can control catching a cold," Gregory moaned. "She is only doing her job, superstar. I think she's just stressed. I don't blame her for one moment," Freddy replied. "Are you a dad?" Gregory asked suddenly. Freddy looked stunned for a couple of seconds, then turned back to the medical box he was looking through and replied, "Well, no. Animatronics are unable to breed in the same way that humans do, and they'd never manufactured me a son or daughter." Freddy brought a wet cotton pad over and began gently dabbing at the wound on Gregory's knee to get rid of the blood. "You just seem like you'd be a good one. You remind me of those dads you see in cartoons and movies." Freddy placed the first band-aid on Gregory's knee, one in a tan, skin-like colour, and with a new cotton pad started the process again on Gregory's elbow. The only thing I can think of that I have in common with those cartoon dads you speak of is that I am also male and fictional. There was a coldness to Freddy's voice that made Gregory think for some reason that whilst Freddy perhaps was not insulted by what Gregory had said, he was still trying to distance himself from the remark. Okay, I've just noticed 2 edits. I might call this live editing as well. I'm going to add at the end of that thing about manufacture me a son or daughter, I'm going to add so to speak, because I think it just adds a bit more flavour to the sentence. I thought of another edit as well, but I don't think we'll add that one, because I can't exactly remember what I wanted, but I'm sure when I read over this again it'll get added somewhere. Oh, that's it. So Gregory then added, I'm going to put that at the start there. So yeah. So it now reads, because I want to just go back through it again. Freddy looked stunned for a couple of seconds, then turned back to the medical box he was looking through and replied, "Well, no. Animatronics are unable to breed in the same way that humans do, and they never manufactured me a son or daughter, so to speak." I also didn't like the way I said daughter at the end of that line the first time, so I wanted another go at it. Freddy brought a wet cotton pad over and began gently dabbing at the wound on Gregory's knee to get rid of the blood. Gregory then added, "You just seem like you would be a good one. You remind me of those dads you see in cartoons and movies." That wasn't clear. Gregory then added, "In cartoons and movies." I don't need the second "in." That's where the issue is. Gregory then added, "You just seem like you would be a good one. You remind me of those dads you see in cartoons and movies." Freddy placed the first band-aid on Gregory's knee, one in a tan, skin-like colour, and with a new cotton pad started the process again on Gregory's elbow. "The only thing I can think of that I have in common with those cartoon dads is that I am also male and fictional." There was a coldness to Freddy's voice that made Gregory think, for some reason, that whilst Freddy perhaps was not insulted by what Gregory had said, I'm going to take that entire paragraph again because I feel like I got Freddy and Gregory mixed up in a few places. They've got similar names, so I do this when I'm typing all the time as well. It's a real frustration. Freddy placed the first band-aid on Gregory's knee, one in a tan, skin-like colour, and with a new cotton pad started the process again on Gregory's elbow. "The only thing I can think of that I have in common with those cartoon dads is that I am also male and fictional." There was a coldness to Freddy's voice that made Gregory think, for some reason, that whilst Freddy perhaps was not insulted by what Gregory had said, he was still trying to distance himself from the remark. Freddy placed the second band-aid on Gregory's elbow, a blue one, before starting to dab at Gregory's cheek. Gregory tapped on his Faz watch whilst Freddy was doing this and saw the time was 56 minutes past 11. "What time do the doors shut for the night?" Gregory asked tentatively as his cheek was dabbed with a wet cotton pad by the animatronic bear. "I believe tonight they are closing at midnight," Freddy answered as he placed the final band-aid on Gregory's cheek. This one was decorated with small pictures of Freddy, Chica, Monty and Roxy. Gregory suddenly stood up and shouted, "Well then, what the hell are we doing here, dummy? I thought this would be a safe place to hide, but now I know there are guard bots after me, and so is that weird lady Vanessa. I don't think I would survive in this place either. I'm not spending a night here." Gregory let Freddy affix the band-aid to his cheek before he stood up and asked Freddy, "Which way out is the nearest?" Freddy pointed out of the door and said, "The atrium has main doors that close at midnight. If you run now, you might..." Freddy was unable to finish his explanation before Gregory had shot out of the door and down the corridor. "Come back soon, superstar!" Freddy cheered with a wave. Gregory was running faster than he had ever run in his life. Faster than when he played soccer for the school team. Faster than when his father had got the belt out after Gregory had failed his spelling test. And faster than he had run away from home in the first place. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm changing a slight line because I didn't like it. And as I say, this is live editing, so hey, so for school too fast, got the ball faster than Gregory's spelling test. And faster than when he had run away from his home. I'm going to put earlier that evening. But I can't remember if there's any point where he actually runs or if he walks calmly. I'm actually just going to have a look back because the first chapter of this actually focuses on Gregory running away from home. Let me see. So, yes, okay. So it does mention that he starts running, because initially he starts walking and then he starts running. That's where I was confused. Okay, so where are we up to? Because that now makes sense. It also cuts out a reference to something that I don't want him referencing yet, because it's a big reveal later on, but when I wrote this initially it wasn't. So, yeah, so now it reads, Gregory was running faster than he'd ever run in his life. Faster than when he played soccer for the school team. Faster than when his father had got the belt out after Gregory had failed his spelling test. And faster than he had run away from his home earlier that evening. Yeah. That's not it word for word, but you get the idea. So moving on. As Freddy entered the Oh, right. There. See, as Freddy... I got Freddy written down. That's meant to be Gregory. I do this all the time. They have similar names. It's actually quite annoying. And I could mention something about that, which I really want to, but that's actually a spoiler for later on in it. And it's a spoiler exclusive to this novel version I'm writing, not to the game version, because there's reveals that happen in the novel version that don't happen in the game version, because I'm writing a better version of it than I think the game developers did. As Gregory entered the atrium, an automatic tannoy announced to no one who cared, "Thank you for visiting the Houston, Texas branch of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. On behalf of all the staff of Fazbear Entertainment, we hope you enjoyed your evening, and thank you for choosing to spend it with us. Come back soon, superstars." Gregory could see the shutters slowly coming down over the glass doors at the exit. It's of the exit, not at the exit. Gregory could see the shutters slowly coming down over the glass doors of the exit, and as he zoomed past confused maintenance droids, potted plants, and jumped over one bench that had a memorial Okay, I don't need the and. Yeah, so this is actually a reference to coming up, a reference to a few of the voice actors, and then I gave them my surname. So, actually, yeah. So it's a bit, yeah. So that's fine. Actually. Is it important? Because I don't think that comes across clearly, so maybe I'll cut that. Yeah, because basically the plaque reads Andy, Marta, Heather and Kellen Chambers. But like, it doesn't add anything. It's just there as a reference, and I think we can cut out what the plaque says. As much as I like the reference, it doesn't add anything, so I'm going to cut that out. Gregory could see the shutters slowly coming down over the glass doors of the exit as he zoomed past confused maintenance droids, potted plants, and jumped over one bench that had a memorial plaque on it. Gregory ran so fast that he found it hard to stop himself when he finally reached the doors, and he smacked right into the metal shutters just as they shut completely. Gregory could feel that he'd smacked his face pretty hard on the metal shutters, and most kids his age would have probably started crying as they noticed the blood dripping from their nose. But Gregory was not most kids. Instead, he just let the red fluid drip on. Instead, he just let the red fluid drip onto the floor and sunk into a crouch of resignation. Then a voice from his watch sounded suddenly. "Gregory, I wanted to take the opportunity to inform you of two things. One, I wish you the best of luck wherever you are going to. And two, the Faz watch that you are wearing is property of Fazbear Entertainment, and removing it from the premises is a crime under the Theft Act of 1968, and therefore—" Gregory interrupted him. "Freddy, I haven't left yet. I can't leave. The shutters went down just as I got to the door." Just as Gregory finished speaking, the loudest and clunkiest sounding metal footsteps sounded and came pounding. Okay, you know what? That line was clunky as hell. It's clunkier than the footsteps, actually. Okay, I'm going to change it to... Yeah. Loud and clunky sounding. Yeah, so it's just going to be loud, and clunky sounding metal footsteps. Okay, so I've shortened that sentence because it doesn't need to be that long. Here we go. I feel like I'm going to burp, but I don't know if I am, so I'm going to just not try. Just as Gregory finished speaking, loud and clunky sounding metal footsteps came pounding closer and closer to Gregory from a direction he couldn't work out. This was followed by a voice that Gregory... There was the burp. Right, so, here's the issue with that. I think it should say to him, not to Gregory, because it sounds like two different characters, both called Gregory. Because if you say a character's name in the same sentence, it sounds like two different characters, even though it isn't. Just as Gregory finished speaking... I nearly sneezed then. Just as Gregory finished speaking, loud and clunky sounding metal footsteps came pounding closer and closer to him from a direction he couldn't work out. This was followed by a voice that Gregory instantly recognised from the concert earlier. It was Chica. "Gregory, your family is looking for you." Something about the way this was said set off several alarm bells in Gregory's mind. Firstly, the voice sounded creepy in the otherwise silence of the Pizzaplex. There was almost a hoarse whispering quality to it, despite its volume. The way she had elongated his name as she had said it, as if savouring it, was also worrying. Above all, this was the very fact that she had claimed that Gregory's family was looking for him. This was clearly just something she said to any child she knew nothing about, because Gregory knew his family would not be looking for him. Not now, and not ever. So she couldn't have been calling out for him. So she couldn't have been calling out for him out of genuine care. This was a trap. But why? What did she want with him? Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted her, and at full speed she suddenly lumbered towards him. She was strangely jagging... But out of the corner of his eye, he spotted her, and at full speed she came suddenly lumbering towards him, strangely dragging her feet, and with her head tilted at an odd angle. I've used strange twice there. I changed it to odd as I was speaking, and when I do that I change it on the speech because I suddenly realised it sounds better when I use different words. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted her, and at full speed she suddenly lumbered towards him, strangely dragging her feet, and with her head tilted at an odd angle, as if she was possessed by a bizarre and overpowering force that couldn't control her correctly. Gregory was about to scream as she came within inches of grabbing him, but something else grabbed him first. Something else grabbed him first around the waist and began running away with him under its arm. It was Freddy. It was Freddy. "I got you, superstar. Just try not to move until we get away from her, as I don't think my grip on you is too strong." Freddy slammed through a set of double doors and put Gregory down. "Quickly, crouch on the floor and don't make a noise until I say so." Gregory hastily did so. Freddy, then in a feat of strength that surprised Gregory, overturned a nearby empty container that was about the size of a wardrobe and placed it over Gregory in such a way that he was perfectly concealed underneath it without being crushed by it. Chica came slamming... Yeah, that was awkward. Chica came slamming through the doors in a very loud... Okay. Chica came slamming through the door very loud. Surely it should be doors. Yeah, instead of double doors, so it should be doors, plural. Chica came slamming through the doors very loudly and ferociously, then in a low slur that even Freddy thought was creepy and out of character. Okay. Yeah. Chica came slamming through the doors very loudly and ferociously, then, in a low slur that even Freddy thought was creepy and out of character, asked, "Where is he?" Freddy replied, "I am assuming you mean the child that has been spotted on the premises this evening, and I am afraid you have misgendered them." Chica went from looking angry to looking shocked, almost as if Freddy had just... Chica went from looking angry to looking shocked, almost as if Freddy had hit just the right nerve to turn her back into her usual self. "Did I?" she squawked. "Indeed you did." "Indeed you did," Freddy said as he carefully bent down and lifted the container in such a way that Gregory was able to slip out and into a nearby cupboard. "I believe, if you recall, our gender neutrality training last week." Yeah. "I believe, if you recall, our gender neutrality training last week, and unless I am very much mistaken, unless we are 100% sure of the gender of the child, we must refer to them as they." Chica looked horrified and turned away, before turning around and nearly seeing the cupboard door shutting. Yeah. Chica looked horrified and turned away before turning around and nearly seeing the cupboard door shutting. Instead, she turned back to Freddy and questioned, "But I was told his name was Gregory." "Their name is Gregory." Chica looked ready to protest, but instead decided to hold her tongue and walked away from Gregory and Freddy. As soon as Freddy was sure that Chica was out of both he and Gregory's earshot, he lifted the container off of Gregory. Gregory whispered, "Do you want to explain to me why Chica just killed me? Just tried to kill me." She didn't kill him, she tried to. It would be a very short book if she managed to kill him at this point. Gregory whispered... Yeah, there needs a comma. Gregory whispered, "Do you want to explain to me why Chica just tried to kill me?" Freddy looked offended, as if he had just been accused of killing him. "Now, Gregory, I'm sure this is just a big misunderstanding of sorts, that all can be sorted out without the need of unwarranted accusations." Gregory tried to keep his voice down, but made sure his tone was clearly angry. "You don't really believe that. Otherwise, why would you hide me?" really believe that, otherwise why would you hide me? Sometimes I add things, sometimes I get rid of. Freddy opened his mouth to answer back, but words failed him. And that's the end of chapter 4. Sorry I had to do some live editing, but that gives you an idea of my editing process and how sometimes when I'm recording I do that. This is completely unedited. This is going up completely unedited, so this is what all of my videos sound like before I edit them, so you can understand why it takes me a while to edit stuff. Something I will say as well, you might notice the images look a bit familiar. That's because they're from a video that I took down a while ago. So, yes, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you around. Bye!